extra mile. Chapter 1, Greyhound. June 2008, Screech! The recklessly driven and well-dented pickup truck stopped inside a foot from the right side of Coach Eddie Greyhound Gaines' very fit, middle-aged body. A very surprised Greyhound hadn't been paying close attention to the traffic flow in the Baptist church parking lot, as he had been meandering between other parked vehicles, 90% being pickup trucks. Pickup trucks have always been the mode of transportation of choice for small-town Texas high school football coaches. Greyhound quickly gave the pickup's driver a critical look of dismay that said, "What was that about?" Rolling down his truck's window, "Sorry about that, Greyhound." Coach Jeremy Wintercheck offered a sincere apology and boyishly smiled out of relief. Wintercheck had been one of the host coaches for the Centex six-man football coaches clinic held annually in Temple, Texas. His Central Texas Christian School Lions are consistently among the top private school six-man football programs in the state. "That's okay, Jeremy. I was preoccupied with my thoughts. I should know better than to cross a parking lot with cowboys like you running loose." Jeremy indicated with his nod that there was probably truth in that statement. "From what I've heard, I'll bet in your prime you would have leaped over this truck like it wasn't even a concern. Someone told me once that when you were playing high school ball in the late 70s, one overzealous sports writer went so far as to compare you to Superman. How did it go?" Greyhound Gaines is just like Clark Kent. When Gaines enters the locker room and emerges with his football uniform on, and you put a football into his hands, he runs like Superman. Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, and able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. My in a single bound days are long behind me, Jeremy. Someone hit me late that season with a load of kryptonite and grounded me forever. Kryptonite for Gaines had come on the opening kickoff of a 1979 high school playoff game, and in the form of a small no-name player for the opposing team. The defender had actually tripped, and while attempting to break his fall, landed on Greyhound's right knee. Most of the over 2,000 Greyhound-crazed fans had immediately gasped when they saw the ghastly angle of his leg. If ESPN had obtained to tape the game, the reporter would have said, before showing the rerun on its highlights show, "Now folks, if you have a weak or timid stomach, you might not want to watch this." Some of the ladies cried out in fear. The stadium became as quiet as a church mouse, like the air had been knocked out of it, waiting to see if Greyhound's leg had survived. Even the game's usually very talkative play-by-play announcer, Johnny Backen, expecting the worst, reacted with, "Folks, how about we have a word of silent prayer?" You know, Jeremy, I will always be thankful that I was even able to play football. When I was 5 years old, I suffered a very rare mild stroke. Until the age of 12, I had suffered some lingering lameness. At age 14, thanks to Coach Duke, I began a regimented program of lifting weights and conditioning. Soon, I also learned how God had blessed me with a very special talent. I could run like the West Texas wind. My story was kind of like Forrest Gump's when he ran free of those braces while running fearfully down that tree-lined country road. "Well, you look like a man of steel today," complimented Jeremy. Jeremy was well known for his good old boy style of living and ready-to-be generous nature. Greyhound was a physically attractive, average-sized African-American who had recently begun shaving his head in surrender to his growing baldness. Among his coaching peers, he was not only considered a man of considerable physical prowess, but also a man with the heart of a lion. "Jeremy, are you still singing with the country band and leading worship at your church on Sundays?" "Greyhound, that's probably one of the reasons I almost ran over you," said Jeremy, giggling. "I had just put in a CD in order to listen again to a new song I'm planning to perform tomorrow during our worship time. I had to give up the country music gigs, Greyhound. Now that I have 2 sons other than at church, I limit my singing performances to bedtime songs." Greyhound laughed as he pictured to himself 6'3" and 240-pound Jeremy sitting bedside and singing to his 2 boys in their nightclothes. "I enjoyed the clinic, Jeremy. Give my best to your darling wife, Cindy." Greyhound had been a member of the Texas high school football elite, one of the heralded blue chippers in the state. He was widely considered to be six-man football's Eric Dickerson, the Pro Football Hall of Famer who had been called the Sealy Flash and was the Texas 11-man high school star running back of 1978. Incredibly, in Eddie's senior year, he rushed for nearly 3,000 yards and rarely played more than the first half of games due to six-man football's benevolent slaughter rule. Famous for its high scores, mercy prevails in six-man when a team leads another by 45 or more points at or any time after the game's halftime. By college football standards, Gaines had an unappealing six-man quarter-horse-like bloodline. Only 11-man high school running backs were handicapped by scouts as thoroughbreds. Yet college teams from every major university within 300 miles of his hometown of Cherokee, Texas, flocked on Fridays to wherever his talent was to be showcased. With Cherokee located roughly 75 miles northwest of Austin, the home of the University of Oklahoma's bitter rival, the Texas Longhorns, one member of the Sooners coaching staff, was a regular visitor. After the Sooners head coach, Barry Switzer, had failed the year before to lure Dickerson to play for the Sooners, he had personally taken a special interest in recruiting Gaines. With the heavy influx of recruiters and reporters, Friday in Cherokee was like an oil boomtown. The fact that the team was also attempting to accomplish something never before achieved in Texas six-man football history, winning back-to-back state championships, contributed to the small community's frenzy. Sadly, despite the numerous attempts to mend his damaged knee, it was generally presumed to be a career-ending injury, and the college football fervor in Cherokee evaporated as quickly as it had first appeared. Since junior high, football-playing dreams had become Gaines' life-defining purpose, and his high school grades and college admission scores reflected this fixation. Later, he entered junior college in hopes of being able to lift his academic abilities as well as regain his football prowess, but that ended almost immediately in further heartache. Shortly thereafter, his former coach, mentor, and friend, the legendary Duke Piasentowski, strongly influenced his decision to pursue a career in coaching.